In this lesson, I want to talk about the current state of the project and what we're going to be doing throughout Lesson 2. We're going to be covering a lot of ground, which is really exciting, actually. We're going to be covering a lot of very cool stuff. But so that we understand where we are and then where we're going is the point of this video. In my terminal, I've gone ahead and looked at our repository and then listed out all of the commits. You can see that where I started was with the commit of the final stage of the project in the last class. Now, at the end of the last class, I went ahead and added a whole bunch of security features so that it would be easier and safer to deploy. And I have removed those changes so that we've started off with the end of the material from the class, not necessarily with some of the extras that were at the end of that repository for, again, security purposes. I've also gone ahead and added a Jupyter Notebook at the very beginning that will automatically generate data for us. So if you come over here and you run Docker Compose up, you wait until all of this gets started, you can then see that there will be a URL that you can copy and paste. And I've gone ahead and loaded that over here, clicked it, and then once you're in here, you can simply say kernel restart and run all, which I've already done. So this way you have a set of default data on your website so that you can just begin to get started with the application and not worry about having to fill it with data, as you know, it's just a little bit of a time thing. Now, one of the things that Jupyter Notebook will not do, mind you, is create a user for you. So I've simply gone ahead and in Docker Composer run the Django container, making sure to remove it, and created a super user, and you can see I've just created a basic user here. Now I'm doing this at the end of what we are going to be seeing in Lesson 2. So if you were to run this at the beginning of this lesson, you will see a slightly different output. But we will get to that as we go through Lesson 2. Now that's the state of the project as it currently is. Let's talk about where we're going to be going. So I'm going to come back to my browser, and again, because I'm running Docker Compose up, I'm able to go to the development server running in Docker. And you can see that we have the various links that we had seen last time with blog, startup, and tags. And if you click on any of these, you can see that it's been filled thanks to the Jupyter Notebook here. But in particular, we can see that there is now a login button as well as a register user button. Now, you may notice, but it's not quite obvious, that there is no longer a button that allows us to create tags. In fact, if you go to startups, there's no longer a button that allows us to create startups or to write new blog posts. And if you go into any of these, you'll also notice that the links that allow us to either edit or delete the various items, be it the blog post or the startup or any of our tags, are missing, right? Those buttons are now no longer available. We ensure that only authenticated users with the right permissions, in other words, the people who are authorized to do so, have the ability to see those buttons. So you will note, have created a super user, and that means that if I go in and I log in as the super user, I will now see the buttons necessary to allow me to edit or update, and they work exactly as before. Now, that said, if I were to try and come here to update this, let's say that I log out, you'll notice that I am not allowed to be on that page, and so I will get redirected to login. Or, you know, if I try and reload this to really sort of send that home, you'll notice that I'm told, no, you can't access this, you need to log in. Now, if I do log in, you'll notice that there's this next path here. If I do log in, I expect that it's going to send me back to the page that I was already on. So let's sort of preview that. And again, I'm just going to log in. And you can see that it sends me right back to the form. This works more or less from any page. In fact, it's sort of already accidentally demoed that because it's core functionality. So let's see it from a different perspective. Let's say that I'm just over here and that I'm actually logged out. Come back into a logout view. And you can see that I'm on Tag Django. I'm not seeing anything of the sort, and I would like to log in. The login automatically adds the page where I was previously, and I'm just going to go ahead and POW. And you can see that, lo and behold, I've been redirected to Django. So that's how login and logout is going to work, and we've touched upon the fact that there's authorization in here where we only show specific links if people are allowed to see them. Let's talk about the last thing that we're really going to be focused on, which is registering a new user. I've now logged out, and I can come over and hit register, and you can see that I'm being asked for the same information that I'm asked when I create a user or create a super user in the command line. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and create a new account. I'm going to enter a password. You see I get some helpful information about what I'm allowed to do and what I'm not allowed to do. I think that's the same password. We're about to find out. That is my name. And this is how I'd like to be referred to. I'm going to register, POW. Now, it says your account has been created. Please check your email. Now, because we're running in development, we don't actually want to be sending emails because that would cause all sorts of problems. Can you imagine sending emails every single time that you run your test suite? Oh boy. So, on the other hand, we do want to be able to access this. So I can simply come over to my terminal, go into the Docker Compose system, and you can see all the way at the bottom that it will print out the email as you will send it. So you can see I'm going to be trying to send to hello. For the moment, it's coming from webmaster@localhost. We will fix this and when we talk about deployment. And you can see we have this nice message that says, hello from the site. And because we're running locally, it gives us this rather than a site name. This can be configured away. We've requested for an account, to activate it. Please go here. So let's do just that. So I'm going to copy and paste that. We're going to come over to here. I'm going to click it, and there we are. And we see this nice thing where we've been redirected. And again, with CSS, this will be a little bit more obvious, but we know to look for your account has been activated. You may now sign in. So here I am, hello@.com, POW. And I've successfully logged in as a new user. Now, as a new user, I don't have all of the permissions that the super user does. And so you'll notice if I go to startup, I can't create a startup. If I go to tags, I can't create any tags. If I go into any of the various tags, you can see I can't modify them or sort of affect them in any way. As a side note, in the second class, I mentioned that sometimes titling your tags was not ideal. And as it turns out, we've ended up with something in the wild where that really isn't ideal and where we need to fix it. But just sort of as a side note as we go about. So this is what we're going to be building in this second lesson. So over the course of this, we're going to look at logging in, logging out, how all of that affects our templates, how we have the ability to enforce permissions, and then how we're going to allow new users to sign up for the site and still be in a position where we can control what they see or what they do.